to open up and say ha. Stories from underneath the paper gown. Hi, Ellie.
Hi, Julia.
Hi.
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 Yeah.
I'm just going to dive right into my story. It's not the most exciting thing, but it's been on my mind a lot lately.
Tell me about it.
As we approach the summer heat, I have been experimenting, and I've been experimenting with this for a really long time, trying to find a non-anti-perspirant,
Antiperspirant?
a non-antiperspirant deodorant, so that I don't get the cancer or the Alzheimer's. And I've experimented with a few things. I keep kind of coming back to the same one. I finally bought into, and this is not an advertisement.
Let's just pronounce everything in a weird way.
I know. I don't know what's wrong with me this morning.
Everything.
Not enough everything. Not enough espresso. Okay. This is not an advertisement for Lumi, but I finally bought into Lumi and was like, I'm going to finally check this shit out. I put it off for a really long time, and it turns out I actually really love this shit. But so I've been doing the Lumi, right? And it is pretty fucking amazing. Like it
This is that deodorant that they've been advertising
everywhere.
that like you can put all over your body.
If we have to explain if there's something wrong with you, if you don't know what Lumi is.
you should, we should.
Should we?
Not everybody listens
We're not
to
getting
ads.
paid.
No, totally. But the point, all I'm saying is that it's not
It's
just
an
for your
all over
pits.
body deodorant.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. It's not just for your pits.
You can get it in a tube. You can get it in a stick. I have it in a stick. All right. I got it for my pits. I did not get it for other parts. So I have been using it, on the pits, and it's amazing in that I really don't smell. And that's kind of been one of the hardest things to figure out with like the natural, deodorants.
Yeah.
And that is that no matter what, you stink. Okay, this solves that problem. I do not smell when I use it. Fucking amazing. But you still sweat. And that's the problem with it not being an antiperspirant, is that I'm just walking around with like wet pits. And then if you're wearing a t-shirt, you get the stains. So it's like, I'm working with people. I can't be walking around with like pit stains,
Yeah.
And then like having wet pits is also just really uncomfortable. So I don't know what the solution is, but somebody out there needs to figure out something to mitigate the wetness that isn't going to give me cancer.
If we could figure it out, this could be the thing that makes us
billionaires, and then billionaires. Yeah. And then
why would we billion? I want like a new
category. For billion.
Yeah.
Billion.
Sure.
Is that a thing, or did you just make that up?
I made it up.
I like it.
You're mispronouncing words. I'm making up words. Cool.
That's
agree to agree.
I agree to agree.
Okay.
Agreed. What's your thing? Tell me about your thing.
You've changed what I was going to talk about, because you're talking about summertime coming and you're talking about aesthetics. And I have very small breasts. I don't, but they're still kind of up enough, and I don't need to wear a bra. And so I would love to go braless, because you're sweating and walking around in the summer.
Oh, that's the word. Boob sweat. Boob sweat.
Yeah. And like a lot of what I wear are skimpy little tank tops. And so then I have to wear a strapless bra, but the strapless bra is so thick and has underwire, and it's lined, and
sometimes it has sticky on it, and it's
increasing the sweat. It's terrible. Right. But here's my problem.
Tell me.
Ever since I had a child, I have one inverted nipple and one super extroverted nipple. One nipple that's like, hey, everybody, and one that's like, hiding. So I would happily embrace my Jennifer Aniston and walk around with two nips. I don't know if I would happily do it, but I would more readily do it if it was even. But I don't want to be
Is Jennifer Aniston?
She was known like on Friends. She was constant. If you look back, there are a lot of episodes where her nipples are at attention.
And this is why this is a callback to the fact that like I didn't watch Friends and you did, and I never know anything about Friends.
Yeah, her nipples were at attention a lot, and it was discussed. And but both nipples at attention is a statement that people.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Let your nipples fly free.
But one being at attention and
one not.
It's just, I don't know. It's not something I want to walk around. Okay. And so they make these new silicone, just stick them on your nips things. But man, they're just, for my size, small breasts, half the time I put them on and you can like see the outline of them through the shirt or the tank top or whatever. So I'm putting this out there to listeners. I don't know if I need to try a lot of different brands. I don't know if the ones I have are just the wrong ones, but I would love to have some sort of stick it on my nipple solution that tamps down the extroverted one and doesn't cause all kinds of, sweat and discomfort, but that you also can't see through my shirt because I feel like that's just as distracting and weird looking as my one nipple that looks like it's going to punch you in the face.
Ellie, this is a huge ask.
Yeah. This is another thing we could invent that could make us kabillionaires.
Kabillionaires.
2 inventions on the table. Now it's a race between listeners to come up with a solution and us.
I would happily embrace either if the listeners came up with it because I would be so thrilled I'd purchase it.
What I really want is all the companies that make these nipple covers to send me samples so I can try all of them without paying for them. And then I'll happily report back which is the best one for small-breasted females like me.
I think that is fine. I think it's fair. I think if any nipple cover companies are listening to this podcast, that they should
send us free shit.
Send the shit to you.
Yeah.
This was great, Ellie. I enjoyed this conversation so much. Who do we have on the pod?
Today, we have 3 extraordinary women in the comedy world who have founded a wonderful organization called Comedy Gives Back. In a moment, we'll introduce all of them, and you'll get to hear about the organization, and I can't wait to hear their stories.
Yeah, they do incredible work. It's going to be good. All right, let's do it.
Today, we are thrilled to have the 3 founders of Comedy Gives Back, which is the safety net of the comedy community with pillars in financial grants, recovery, and mental health. Organizations like this can be literal lifesavers for performers and writers who don't have steady income, health insurance, or any of the stability of a typical career. We'll learn more about it at the end of the episode, but for now, let's introduce these 3 brilliant humans and hear their stories.
Let's do this. All right, we have Amber J. Lawson, who stands as a luminary in change, entrepreneurship, mindfulness, and emotional intelligence. With a background as a former international media executive, Emmy nominee, and entrepreneur, Amber J. passionately trains Olympic athletes, celebrities, comedians, career-driven mothers, entrepreneurs, and CEOs in the art of change through harnessing emotional intelligence, connection, and sense of self. Her zone of genius is comedy, and she loves hot pink, obviously. Obviously.
For listeners who are not watching, half of her hair is hot pink, so you should be watching.
You should be
Jodi
watching.
Lieberman has been in the comedy business for the last 2+ decades. Jodi started her career at Just for Laughs and was the head of the festival for many years, producing live shows and TV shows and breaking young talent. Her passion for working with talent led her to become a talent manager. In addition to working on Comedy Gives Back, she currently runs her own company, Lieberman Entertainment.
Last one here. Save the best for last. Zoe Friedman was born into comedy. Zoe's parents started the improvisation in NYC in 1963. A true believer in the transformative and healing quality of laughter, Zoe's mission is to make sure laughter stays in the world through Comedy Gives Back, producing comedy and not ever getting too jaded to laugh her ass off. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. We're so happy to be here.
We're
and you made it through your bios, which is the hardest part of this whole show.
Yeah.
Sitting and listening to that.
It's tricky, but you should be proud. So it's not really that hard compared to like
mine or
Okay,
we performed our way through it.
You really did. It was highly entertaining. All right, before we dive into your stories, I'd like to hear from each of you. What kind of a patient are you? When you have a medical encounter, are you nervous? Take charge? Do you come in with a list? Amber J., let's start with you. What kind of a patient are you?
Well, that's a very good question to ask this threesome of broads, otherwise known as Jazz, Jodi, Amber J., and Zoe. I am now in life, I am a very vocal patient, and I rattle the cage. I demand service, and I know my body, and I trust my body.
Love it. Love that.
That's excellent. Very proactive. Exactly.
I would say I have been passive. It's new in this chapter of my life to be more proactive.
One of the great things that comes with aging, I feel like, is assertiveness.
Are doctors appreciative of it, or are they like, simmer down?
Uh, they are a little bit simmered down, but I pay for it and
Right.
I demand to be served, frankly, in our broken medical system in America.
That sounds right.
100%.
Yeah.
Jodi, how about you?
So
Neurotic. Was that out loud?
I was gonna say you should ask my friend. So I am being Jewish. I do get very
Also.
nervous
Yeah.
going into a doctor, but I have to say that I've had my experiences and I take matters into my own hands and I advocate for myself and I push it and I don't take no for an answer. And like Amber J just said, I know my own body and I know when there's something wrong. And I feel like I've definitely advocated for myself and pushed people to, come through and get appointments when I couldn't get appointments and get stuff done when they said, oh, you have to wait 3 weeks. And I'm like, no, I'm not waiting 3 weeks. I'm going to get this done tomorrow.
This all sounds very
Excellent.
familiar, Ellie.
It sure does.
So familiar.
It sure does. I feel like we're kindreds, all of us. Zoe, what about you?
Well, I also am, I advocate for myself. I've always been like that. My mother has always been like that. So I saw every doctor roll their eyes at her and try to push her, especially as she got older. So in some ways, I saw it modeled, not necessarily positively, because the medical system does sort of push that away, but it's what I do because my mom modeled it, right? So that is where I enter mostly, but I become a little bit more assertive as I grow older and wiser. And I will say I don't take doctors as the end all. I am also very much know my body, and I also pursue integrative, alternative ways of care, right? So diagnostically, Western medicine is fantastic, not so much in the treatment, of the holistic body. And so it's up to us. So that's not just advocating in the office, but what else can, what else I can do to, fortify or, something.
It doesn't begin and end at the doctor's office.
Right. They are only one opinion sometimes, and multiple opinions are always good. It's not to say I'm a rebel. I also am an obeyer. I'm a good girl. Like if I believe in the doctor and I feel it's right, I'll listen, right? I do think there are people, they have expertise. I'm not that, but I definitely don't end all with a doctor. I pursue my own stuff as well. And my mom did that too. She was pretty ahead of her time.
It's good to be
All right.
knowledgeable.
It is at that.
Yeah. Know what you're getting into.
Yep.
All right. So we have 3 grown-ass women here.
We do.
And I think that's fantastic. And I can't wait to hear your stories.
Yeah.
Amber J, you ready to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
What was that, Ellie?
Sure.
The first.
Amber J's story is called You Gave Me AIDS. I can't wait.
You gave me AIDS.
This is either gonna be really funny or really tragic. I'm ready.
My story starts back in the 1900s when I was first moved to Los Angeles, and my business partner at the time, I had gotten like a tooth infection, and the tooth infection started to morph my face, and I started to look like Mask. Like it started to move down, and I went to a dentist, and they were like, "Oh, you need to go to the emergency room." So I went to the emergency room and they drew this bit like with magic marker around my face.
Like the margins, to mark the margins?
Oh my God.
To manage like where, like what's going on. So I had this infection and I was in Cedars and I went so I'm in the room and they're managing it and the doctor comes in to treat me. And what he did was like shoot my gums, I guess with antibiotics or something. And when he did that, he slipped and nicked himself with the
syringe.
The syringe. And then turned to me He is in my mouth with a syringe. Did I mention that part? And he nicks himself, not me, not nothing I did, and with the syringe, and says to me, "Do you have AIDS?"
No. No.
"Do you have AIDS? Do you, doctor?"
Because this is what I want to hear right now.
Oh my God.
I was gobsmacked. So if that wasn't bad enough, when I got checked out of the hospital at Cedars, one of the top hospitals in America that you pay a lot of money for, the electricity went out. I had to walk down the back stairs to leave the hospital. And that, my friends, is how I got AIDS.
Or gave AIDS.
Or gave AIDS.
I
Gotten
didn't get
gave.
AIDS. Yeah,
This is insane.
I didn't have AIDS, and I didn't get it.
On multiple levels. Like, I feel like that doctor was on drugs. I feel like that
Maybe.
doctor had zero bedside manner. I cannot believe that you're in this vulnerable position. And it was a man, yes?
Of course it
He
was.
said that? Yes.
Of course it was.
First concern was for himself. And also, might I say, I don't know, I feel like in the 1900s, which I also
Same.
lived through, one of the questions, like you knew walking in don't you fill out a whole thing with like your whole
what you
medical
got and what you
history?
don't got?
Like, a doctor knows if what you have that might be problematic before they stick you with anything.
Yeah. Also
This
get
was
better at doing your job.
This was before I had no, you
Right.
can't say this, and you can't behave this way, and you can't treat me like this, and I'm suing right now.
The assertiveness.
Like, if that would have happened in the past 10 years, that would have never been the case. But I didn't know how to navigate hospitals. I thought the sun rose and set with doctors.
Yeah.
And if they came in and did X, Y, and Z, then that's what I needed. But it was so shocking.
And presumably this was also before Yelp. So that you weren't giving.
It was the 1900s, Allie. Yes.
It was the 1900s. So children listening. Back then, you couldn't post on Insta. You couldn't make a TikTok about how your doctor accused you of giving them AIDS from when they stabbed you with. So did you get enough antibiotic?
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Tell us what happened you obviously got better because your
face looks great.
Your face isn't hanging off on one side. So
I lived.
You lived.
That's the end. She lived. Period. End of sentence. She's alive.
And I still go to Cedars. You'd think I would have learned my lesson.
Well, each doctor.
One bad doctor.
Yeah, you can't judge a whole hospital, really, can you?
No.
But what was it? Just an infection?
Yeah.
Did they take the tooth out?
Nope.
No, the tooth lived.
Yeah, it was just an infection, and it went wild, and they were worried that it would get like in my brain or like paralyze me.
That's
and
real.
They gave me antibiotics, and it went down.
Right.
People don't know a tooth infection can kill you.
Yeah,
and
it was bad.
That's a PSA
It was scary
for those that are listening.
But they sent her out the back entrance. They turned off all the electricity and sent her down the back stairs, not for her to spread the
They were
word.
like, don't look.
That one doctor
After all of that.
dripping blood going down the back stairs.
That same visit, there was another, they wheeled me, they needed to take blood, and they took me to another floor, but it was to this is the craziest thing, to like a supply closet, and took the blood in the supply closet. What was happening?
What was happening?
What's happening?
Do you
Are you
start to
sure?
think
Listen, I got
it's you? Is it you? Is it you?
Yeah. Are you sure that this infection wasn't affecting your brain? Like, are you sure these were did this really happen? Was this like hallucinations? Like, how accurate do you really think this is?
I do have people who can verify it for sure, but like, Yeah, that was a crazy visit. And I've been to Cedars and stayed at Cedars and had lovely times. So it was crazy.
It was
All
an
right.
off day.
We're not,
So-
we're
It was
not
the
throwing shade at
1900s.
Cedars.
So Cedars, don't sue us.
Don't sue us.
And for those listeners who weren't born in the 1900s and didn't get the mask reference, we will post a link in the show notes to an image of Eric Stoltz, the actor playing
Oh
a
my
real life
goodness.
character who had a disease, name of which I cannot recall right now, but
Right.
that made his face
But by the
swollen.
way, how dare you bring him up? I mean, just like the biggest
Eric
crush.
Stoltz?
The
Oh,
crush
yeah, wow.
of my life, of my lifetime. I married a redhead, but it all started with Eric Stoltz.
I
Gingers.
see.
I'm a
Ooh,
ginger lover too. Yeah.
made me so horny. Forget
Yeah.
it. So horny.
Even in Mask? Not in Mask.
No, well, he was such a
Not-
good guy.
He really was.
Such a
He
good
was
guy.
really a lovable. You could see Laura Dern, right? Laura Dern fell in love. She was the actor who played.
Yes, is the
love
teenage
chick.
girl
Yeah.
who was blind.
She was blind.
Blind.
I have to watch it again.
All right, I'm
Yin
so
and
glad
yang.
that we digressed this far because we should get back on track.
Watch
right.
Take it
party.
this way. All right,
Let's do it.
Jodi, you've got a story. It's called "Does This Car Accident Make Me Look Hot?" Let's hear it.
All right. So I need to preface something. So
Do it.
this was in 2013. And at the beginning of the year, I did a focus group for P90X3.
Oh,
So I was in really, really good shape at that point. And I was maintaining it and I was working out and eating really healthy. And my mom was in town because I was getting my citizenship and I couldn't travel to Canada. So my mom came down in August to spend some time with me. And the day before she was leaving, my new Mini died. And the next day she was leaving and I had to go get my car taken care of. So there was something wrong with the battery and they towed my Mini and they gave me a car rental. So I was in a Toyota Corolla at the time. And this was like on a Monday. And on Wednesday, they called me that my car was ready. So instead of going to work, I was going to the dealership to pick up my car. And I was driving along Hollywood Boulevard and a truck smashed into me as I was stationary head first and spun me around, and another car hit me and I was in the car and I thought I was dying and I got pulled out. I got thrown into an ambulance and I had pulled down the visor and I saw my head was bleeding.
Oh my God.
And I didn't
Wait, I have
really
to ask you,
know,
did they have to
like-
like pull you? Did they have to like cut you out and like pull you from the wreckage?
They couldn't open my door
They
and
couldn't
had
open
to
your
pull
door.
me out the passenger door. And like, I will say this, I had never really been in the hospital before. I definitely had never really been in an ambulance as a patient before. And here I am with a rental car. They didn't understand how I had a rental car and I had a California license, like things did. And I kept hearing them talking and I was so vain during this whole thing. I was like, my rings are getting dirty because I had blood on my hands. Like when I
The
think
weirdest
back on
things
the
you think
story,
about.
it was crazy. Anyhow, so I get thrown into the ambulance and my mother had just bought me this off-white shirt that I was wearing and they went to cut my shirt and they went to cut my jeans and I was like, can you please not cut my jeans? And then I
love
remember
these jeans. Yeah.
exactly. They didn't cut the jeans, they cut the
not
shirt.
like, am I internally bleeding? But please don't cut my
Please
jeans.
don't cut the
Don't cut my
jeans.
jeans, exactly.
Sure.
That might be the
Fashion
name of
first.
this episode.
So they take me to Cedars and it was like literally the movies. Like I think I had passed out in the ambulance going there. Like I don't really remember the ambulance drive. I remember like the doors flying open like in the movies and seeing the ceiling like on top of me. Anyhow, I'm lying there and somebody comes over and they're offering me a prayer. And I was like, oh my God, am I dying?
no.
Like I didn't know what was going on. And then they were asking me questions and in my head, I knew the answers, but I couldn't verbalize it. And I was like, oh my God, am I like, do I have brain damage? Like,
Yeah.
I really didn't know. Anyhow, and then at one point, like I came to, they took me to a CT scan. I think they realized like I was okay. They took me out and then I had to go for an x-ray and I had been lying with blood all over the place. And this guy took me into this x-ray room, and they were taking an x-ray of my chest. So I had to stand up. So I stand up, and at this point, my jeans had come off. They weren't cut, but they had been removed. And my shirt's like cut and hanging off of me. Oh. And the guy stands me up, and I'm standing there literally like my shirt falls off, and he goes, "Can I throw this out?" I go, "Yeah." So he threw it into the garbage, and I'm standing there, and the x-ray technician says to me, "Wow, you really are in good shape. Like, you look great." And like, and in my head, I'm like, yes, it was all worth it.
This is like the beginning of a porn.
Yes.
Like a porn with narrative, again, from the 1900s when there was like a storyline. I don't know really so much how it works
on
now,
the VHS.
On the VHS, you put in a tape, a hot girl gets in a car accident, she's all torn up, and then the x-ray technician is like, "You look amazing." And then her broken
the x-ray
body
technician is like, "Can I throw this out?"
That's right. That's right.
Like, "Can I remove your shirt?" Anyhow, like, now that I'm thinking about it, did he really say that to me? Could he have said that to me? Like, that is the story I remember. And then, so I'm lying there, and two of my friends came, and I remember I kept touching my head and going, "I think I'm bleeding. I think the back," like, I knew the front of my head was cut, but I didn't know the back of my head was cut. And I kept touching the back of my head, and I said to one of my friends, I go, "I think my head's bleeding." So finally another doctor comes to see me. I'm lying like in the hall now. And my friend goes, "I think the back of her head is bleeding." So they lift my head up, and he goes, "Oh yeah." And the next thing I know, he's like, "Oh, we're gonna have to shave your head."
Oh.
And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Don't worry, I'll do it so your hair falls like on top of it." And the next thing I know, I have 9 staples in my head.
Oh. This is a whole different porn category. Go ahead.
And by the way, Cedars.
And I'm lying there in this hospital, and like, I was like new to the States. I'm from Canada, so I've socialized medicine, and I'm lying there going, "Oh my God, how much is this going to cost me?"
Yeah.
And then I have the car rental place calling me, going, "Where's the car?" And I'm like, "I don't know where the car is." Like, I had no clue where the car was. And anyhow, we did figure out the car, and it was totaled. It was completely totaled, the car.
Surprise.
Now she's married to the x-ray technician now.
Right. And they have
a porn
head
company
staple
together.
sets. Right. Well, I'm really glad that such a traumatic experience didn't damage your self-esteem. And that you were able to maintain, your sense of hotness. And even though your head, like, was your hair
and your
super
value
weird?
of your jeans.
Yes, your jeans.
Priorities, Jodes.
Was your hair super weird for a long time?
No, he actually did a really good job, considering that they didn't realize that my head was bleeding. I think they were so concerned about internal damages.
That is disconcerting, though, that they didn't give you a full once-over after pulling you out of a car. Like, check her from head to toe. That's right. That's weird.
I mean, I agree.
I think they were very concerned that I had like internal bleeding. So I don't know.
So cranium bleed doesn't really register.
Did any of them ask you if you had AIDS?
No.
No, good. Okay.
And if they did, I don't remember.
Oh, you said it was 2013.
2013.
So this was post.
A little bit more woke, like not so woke enough not to ask about AIDS, but not woke enough to realize that telling you you're hot when you're standing naked in front of the x-ray machine is inappropriate.
Inappropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, less cocaine and then more P90X.
Right. So in conclusion, yes, the answer to your story, which is posed as a question, is yes, the car accident did make you look hot.
Yes.
There you go.
Well done. Well done. Thank you for that. I don't know why my brain is so on porn, but I'll unpack that with someone else after this.
We'll talk about it later, Ellie. Yeah.
Right. And for our final story, we have Zoe with X Marks the Spot.
Well, when you ask the question, what kind of patient we are, and I say we advocate up for ourselves. We're grown-ass women. This was in the 2000s. So Nobody was asking me those. I've had inappropriate questions, but this was not one. I had a lipoma on my back. It's a collection of cells, fat cells. It's not lymphoma, I mean, it's not
It's not
Lymphoma.
cancer.
it's not cancer. It's a benign, and it wasn't concerned that it was, but I had two on my back, and one was kind of close to the rest. So my GP was like, should go and probably get these removed. And I was like, okay. So I went to the surgeon, and I liked this surgeon very much. He was also a Cedars doctor. And he's like, all right, so this is what I'm gonna do, and da-da-da. So I go for the, it was outpatient, unless something was gone awry, but it was planned for outpatient. And, if we all have a little vanity, right, in these stories, I was sort of thinking about my back. I have a really nice back. I don't have zits on my back. It's, not a lot of fat. So I was like, what is this going to look like? Where are those scars going to be? And what does it really matter? Because you can't really see your back, but you sort of know it's
But
there.
you care.
But you care. I
You
care
care.
about my back, And so I was giving some thought, and my husband drove me to the appointment, and it's really early in the morning. And I said to my husband on the way, I said, I have this idea, Steve, and I need your help. And when we got to the doctor's office, I grabbed a Sharpie from the nurse, and I said, I need you to outline my bra on my back, because you hear a lot about doctors, especially the male skew of research, surgeries, right? You C-sections that they put, So I go, I need you to outline my bra, because if there's a question of being in my bra line that I have to wear a bra every day for the rest of my life, and I'm going to have a scar that's irritated, whatever, I need you to outline. So
That is so smart.
I felt it was good. The nurse gave me a look like, at the front desk when I go, here, we're checking you. And I go, hold on, I need to go to the bathroom with my husband. And I run to the bathroom, and they're knocking. They're like, we need, to start the anesthesia or whatever. And so he does the best job. And I go, I say goodbye, and I'm in the little, prep room. And the nurse that comes in, I said, I need you to finish the drawing, on my back. And she was a young nurse, and she said, oh my God, my mother curses the day I was born because of the cesarean the doctor gave that sat right on her bikini line, that for 30 years of this, it's a reminder. And I was like, she's my angel, confirming, telling me that's exactly
to care about it.
what I should be doing. Right, exactly. Because if it had to be in the bra line, because that's the only bit, you have a choice, in some way.
Yeah.
So I went in with this drawing, like X marks the spot, like on my back. And the doctor was like, and you're starting to fade out, and he's like, what is on your back? I was like, well, that's so you know where not to cut. And you don't know if they're going to roll their eyes, or he goes, that is a really smart thing.
Yes.
And therefore my back, and I had two, and have, they're small scars, but they're nowhere in my bra. And I don't have to be reminded every time I put a bra on that I had this surgery to take it. So I was really happy that I advocated for myself. I got a few eye rolls at the beginning when they're like, what are you doing in the bathroom with my Sharpie and your husband?
Porno things.
That's right. And then I felt like I got that confirmation by the nurse who told me her mother complained. I was like, oh, all right, let's finish this up, So we took the down gown off, and she drew on my back, and I had this weird outline of my bra.
So we've learned something here today. Yeah, go ahead, Julia. I mean,
I don't want you to forget it. I don't want you to forget your thoughts. Say it right away.
We know what we've learned. We've learned that you should draw outlines of where you don't want people to cut.
I agree. I'm inspired
I would never
by
have
it
thought of that.
because every time I go to the dermatologist, they cut something off of me. Every time. So I'm so inspired. Oh yeah, they're like, oh, this mole, this thing. And I had like a tiny lipoma on the top of my head, and this is like bringing it all together. They had to cut my hair, and I was like, oh, they cut it was like a tiny bit, and they put a little stitch in, and it all grew back, and it was fine. But yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard the word lipoma until today.
Oh yeah. You
And even
clearly
I've
you
heard it a
don't
lot.
watch Dr. Pimple Popper.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Yes,
I
you
do
should.
not.
But you
Just
should.
the title of that show. I can't, I want to throw up.
That is why
And-
I know what a
Mhm.
lipoma is.
I'm so glad that you know for the both of us.
I
Mhm.
just watched it for the first time the other day in Florida with my brother, who happens to be a trauma surgeon. I
Oh,
was like, oh my God, I can't watch this.
some of it
I
is
have-
unwatchable and some of it is so watchable.
I have a high tolerance for a lot of things, but whenever, even in a scripted show, even in not a reality show, if in a scripted show there's some really well executed surgical scene where there's like a cut and they're pulling open, I have to turn away, and my husband's like laughing at me, and I just stare at his face, waiting for his face to tell me that the part is over.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I can't. I don't know. Could never be
I'm
a
like that.
doctor or a nurse. I don't know. I can like wipe a baby's ass and clean up vomit. That doesn't bother me, but the cutting, even you saying pimple popper, I just
Pimple Popper.
Pimple popper.
I
Pimple
don't want
popper.
dinner now. I don't want
Pimple
dinner.
Popper.
And that's also a genre of porn. Okay.
Yeah, we did it.
We did it. We brought it back around.
We did it.
If you can find a callback, you've won.
Yes, that's what I always say.
I don't know who
Okay.
decided.
I don't
I
know.
like that.
This was a blast, ladies.
Thank you. so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much. Please tell our listeners where to find Comedy Gives Back and how they can help. And then we'll have you each say where they can find you individually to see what projects you have coming up and all of that kind of stuff. So who wants to go first? Whoever.
So we are, our website is comedygivesback.com. We always receive donations, small or large. We help comedians continue to do what they do well, is make people laugh. So whether it's financial crisis relief or mental health therapy or chemical dependency, that is where our money goes. So if you like to laugh, support. You could also text laugh, LAUGH, to 707070.
Ooh.
And if you're a
Amazing.
comedian in need of services, go to our website or email help@comedygivesback.com, and somebody will be back to you and tell you how we can help you. So both sides work. And you can find me at Wowie Zowie on Instagram.
I like it. Wowie zowie.
Wowie
I like it.
Zowie.
You can find me at Jodi Lieberman on Instagram or Facebook.
That was easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There she is. And that's all she wrote.
And I currently am helping Gen X women date.
Ooh.
Interesting.
To get
All
their
right.
Gen X gals guide to getting their groove on.
I like
Yes.
it.
And you can find me at Amber J. Lawson on every platform.
Amazing. We will post all of this in the show notes. And I just want to say thank you for coming up with this.
Yes.
But first of all, thank you for being on the pod and thank you for sharing your stories. But thank you for coming up with this brilliant organization. It's really smart. And I think, I'm a member of actors unions, and there are so much infrastructure in place for actors and theater and stage performers. But I think, as you have identified, probably comedians sort of fall through the cracks because they don't always fit into a category like that. So what you're doing is really important and essential and amazing. And we're so glad to be able to tell people about it.
Oh, thank you guys.
Thank you for
Okay.
having us.
Thank
It's really
you.
great to share what we do and share what our organization is. And because you never know who that person is that needs that help, right? That we can help. So thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. It was fun.
And now let's all go watch the porn that we have.
Some pimple popper.
Or some Pimple Popper.
Yeah.
Pimple
Your
Popper.
choice, dealer's choice.
Dealer's choice. Have a great afternoon, whatever it entails, right?
Exactly.